want to talk to you because I think it is important that we talk. Now, you may question why it is important that we talk, and that question would be valid. So, questions are valid, is what we heard while we were growing up. They say that all questions are intelligent and only answers could be foolish. So, that is very much practiced by people in politics, people in power. Sometimes they just ask questions. But let me question this premises that all questions are intelligent. And I'll bring to the focus someone from the capital of India who comes up with logic of his own, and that made me do a little bit of study on what is logical fallacy. So just if you're wondering who I'm going to be talking about, that name or last name begins with K. Okay. So logical fallacies are flawed, deceptive, or false arguments that can be proven wrong with reasoning. These are the most common fallacies that I found were explained in thebestschools.org. So they have given different types of fallacies. If you want to understand more about logical fallacies, but primarily that gentleman whose name is Evan Thompson mentions about a formal fallacy and an informal fallacy. Again, these are described formal fallacy is an argument with a premise and conclusion that doesn't hold up to scrutiny. And let us remember this again, an argument with a premise and conclusion that doesn't hold up to scrutiny. So now the argument that Arvind Kejriwal, Chief Minister of Delhi, has come up with for questioning, or rather not even hiding, that he's envious of the success of box office success of the film, The Kashmiri Files. So first he makes a remark referring to it as jhooti movie without seeing the film. I thought he might have seen it, but 2-3 days later, after he made this declaration that made a lot of people angry, he holds on to his guns, and in an interview he mentions again that I have not seen the film. But so first of all, if you have not seen the film, how you arrive at the conclusion? By hearsay. And if by hearsay you make such a big argument and a case against the film, what does that tell us about your integrity with the cause that the Kashmir Files is sharing after 32 years? But leave aside the part of integrity, it will be probably too much to ask for. Let us look at the argument. And the argument that he made, of course, he was sitting on a high pedestal because he is in a position to decide whether the film should be tax-free or not in that territory, which is one side of arrogance, as well as someone who is intoxicated with a sense of power as well as recent success in one state. And look at his unapologetic acceptance of the defeat in many states, wherever Aam Aadmi Party under his leadership had its candidates. They lost their basic amount, which is जमानत जिसे कहा जाता है. Back to the argument that I wanted to take up. He says there are two arguments he's making. One, he says that this film is dealing with the pain and suffering of the Kashmiri Pandits. So whatever profit the money is generating, the movie is generating, it should be used for their development, betterment, upliftment, whatever. Now, there are multiple flawed arguments in this premises, beginning with, I'll take just the first one. The argument that he comes up with is because it is a movie based on the plight of the Kashmiri Pandit, so the amount made should be used. Now, if you apply this to other movies, so let us say crores of rupees are made by movies which are dealing with love, romance. Now, this romance and love, as is practiced by people or people who get inspired by movies and then they fall in love, use those songs, etc. So they should say that I'm now going to offer a diamond ring to my fiance, and because XYZ movie made so much money on the story of lovers, so I should get some part of it from, let us say, directors like what is this guy, Karan Johar, or maybe the guy who refers to himself proudly as king of romance. Why shouldn't you ask him to shell crores of rupees for helping those who want to get married, or organize marriage parties, or let people have money from them to go to honeymoon? I mean, so this I'm just using, again, this is an argument which is parallel to the argument made by this gentleman, Mr. Kejriwal. So there are multiple movies made on various subjects. It doesn't mean that you would contribute to that cause alone. What about the creative process? What about the expenditure in making a film? Now, this guy who is visibly, successfully so far in terms of perception of his own party members and his own perception, is managing affairs of budget which is quite huge. So he doesn't have a clue about there is expenditure incurred. But then what about the intellectual contribution or artistic contribution? So there are some matters where money is needed to buy certain, or to travel, or so that is one side. But ultimate money that he as a politician is also making is by making use of his mind. Now, this mind has multiple faculties, and these people who are creative, sensitive, they come up with something. So, do they have no right to make money? Then, what about all these laws which are aimed at protecting the rights of artists? And there's plagiarism that is questioned. So, what about all that? If we take this argument, because this movie is based on a particular theme and it is making money only because of that, so it should contribute. There are other successful movies. Let us say Tare Zameen Par. So now it is making movie because of the portrayal of a certain type of child who have who lacks the ability to function properly. So that those people should contribute the complete money, and they shouldn't be making it is bad as per Kejriwal. Now the same way, this guy, again I named him as King of Romance as he calls himself. So he made a movie, My Name is Khan. Okay. Now this movie also talks about, or rather, the protagonist is autistic, some problem this character has. So he should donate all the movie if made by the success of that movie. So what kind of flawed argument it is which Mr. Kejriwal has made, and I'll take another argument some other time. But I think I would I would like you to think about how they consciously or unconsciously, either they make fool of themselves or they are fooling people by coming up with these kind of arguments, discarding the creative value addition of the team of the Kashmir Files and the research and all that went into it. And interestingly, Kashmiri Pandits are happy that their story is finally being told. They are, in fact, would be willing to contribute to help this sensible, sensitive, patriotic, fearless, courageous filmmaker Vivek Agnihotri to do more of such projects where the truth finally comes out, and we make use of film media to improve ourselves rather than getting into the kind of intoxicating mind waves created by useless item numbers. I said I would have to correct myself. They are also not useless. There is some creativity involved even in the item numbers. But while we are looking at the logic and the argument made by Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal about the Kashmiri Files, and once again, you should know he has not seen the movie till the day he made this in Vidhan Sabha. I'm sure he might have not seen it later also. So another questionable thing is, you have not seen, you have not experienced what is all there, and you have the audacity to speak the way you do and make a fool of yourself, or you add salt and pepper to the wounds of people whose stories are explained there. So enough of this logical fallacy. Let's stand corrected on where we are.